Billions of dollars gone in days. One late-night joke, and suddenly Disney, the world's biggest entertainment empire, is in full-blown crisis mode.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. And in between the finger-pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish. Okay.
Boycotts explode, stock prices tumble, and the future of Jimmy Kimmel's show hangs by a thread. Today, we're breaking down exactly how a few words on late-night TV spiraled into a corporate nightmare that wiped billions off Disney's value. Welcome to Billionomics, where the true billionaires are born. September 17th, 2025, ABC, owned by Disney, drops a bombshell. Jimmy Kimmel Live, suspended, not for a week, not for a month, indefinitely. The reason? A late-night joke that many called reckless. Kimmel made controversial comments in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. The remark wasn't just seen as off. Disney executives claimed the comments were ill-timed and insensitive during one of the most, as some would say, politically charged weeks in America. And if you know Disney, you know how cautious they are. This is the company that polishes every word, every image, to keep its global brand squeaky clean. So their decision, suspend the show, silence the controversy, protect the brand. But that's not how it played out. Almost instantly, the internet turned the narrative on its head. Instead of seeing Disney as the responsible parent company, critics saw censorship, political pressure, and corporate cowardice. Hashtags like hashtag boycott Disney and hashtag cancel Disney Plus didn't just trend, they dominated social media timelines for days. In other words, the punishment didn't smother the fire, it ignited a digital wildfire. What started as an internal corporate decision was suddenly a national debate about free speech, media bias, and whether one of the biggest companies in the world was bending to political intimidation. And this was just the beginning. Wall Street noticed, fast. The night the suspension hit headlines, Disney's stock slipped nearly 2%. That may sound small, but in Disney's world, 2% is worth a fortune. Overnight, the company's market value shrank by almost $3.9 billion. By September 22nd, as outrage grew and boycotts gained momentum, the total estimated losses ballooned to somewhere between $5 and $6 billion. Let's pause on that number. $6 billion. Gone in less than a week, and all from a single late-night controversy. And these weren't just lines on a graph. Investors weren't just selling stock because they felt like it. They were reacting to a chain reaction unfolding in real time. Subscribers started canceling Disney Plus, Hulu, even ESPN Plus. The digital outrage wasn't just loud, it was costly. Reports even said Disney's cancellation pages temporarily crashed under the traffic. Think about that, millions of people rushing online, not to watch Disney, but to cut ties with it. And once the dominoes start falling, investors panic. Because Disney isn't just a streaming service. It's movies, parks, merchandise, sports, cruise lines. If people are angry enough to cancel streaming subscriptions, what's to stop them from skipping the next Marvel movie? Or delaying that expensive family trip to Disney World? That's why the market reacts so violently. Because outrage in one corner of Disney's empire can spread everywhere else. Now let's be clear. These were mostly what Wall Street calls paper losses. Disney didn't literally write a check for $5 billion. But here's the thing. Stock drops aren't harmless. They scare off investors. They make it more expensive for Disney to borrow money. They create headlines that can drag down brand confidence. And in business, perception is reality. The loudest message Wall Street was sending? Disney's leadership just lost control of the narrative. And when you're a global empire, losing control of the story is the first step to losing control of your money. The crazy part is Disney thought reinstating Jimmy Kimmel would calm the waters, But then came Sinclair and Nexstar. These aren't just some small-town local broadcasters. Together, they control roughly 25% of ABC's national reach. That means 1 out of every 4 households that could be watching Jimmy Kimmel Live simply can't. Why? Because Sinclair and Nexstar flat out refused to air it, even after Disney officially brought the show back. Think about what that means financially. Advertising slots on late-night shows are priced based on eyeballs. If a quarter of those eyeballs vanish overnight, advertisers aren't paying top dollar anymore. That translates to millions in lost ad revenue, not to mention the ripple effect across affiliates, talent contracts, and syndication deals. This wasn't just a snub, it was a broadcast rebellion. A direct challenge to Disney's control over what gets aired on their network. It raises deep questions. Who really holds the power in American media? The content creators, the distributors, or the gatekeepers who flip the switch? But the pushback didn't stop with the broadcasters. Hollywood itself went into open revolt. Showrunners, actors, and late-night peers slammed Disney for what they called outright censorship. Take Damon Lindelof, the co-creator of Lost. He flatly declared he wouldn't work with Disney again unless Kimmel was reinstated. Imagine the optics, one of Disney's own hitmakers threatening to blacklist them. That's not just a creative loss, that's an intellectual property loss pipeline. Actors joined in too. Fans and even celebrities began canceling Disney Plus subscriptions in protest. It might sound symbolic, but when you multiply that by thousands or even millions of cancellations, it hits the balance sheet hard. Remember, streaming is Disney's most critical growth segment, yet it's also the one bleeding the most money. In fact, Disney's streaming division reported nearly $387 million in operating losses last quarter, so losing subs now is like pouring salt into an open wound. Mark Ruffalo even chimed in, warning that if Disney kept silencing voices, its stock could tank further. And he's not wrong. Disney's shares have already shed over $4 billion in market value this year, and controversies like this only add fuel to Wall Street's pessimism. This wasn't just about Kimmel. It became a rallying cry for free speech, for artistic independence, and against the idea that corporations can muzzle their talent when politics or profits are on the line. Now here's where the plot thickens. Because behind the curtain, this wasn't just a corporate decision. There were whispers, no, shouts, of political pressure. FCC Chair Brendan Carr had made not-so-subtle comments hinting at consequences over Kimmel's remarks. To critics, this looked a lot like jawboning, where government actors lean on private companies to censor speech they don't like. That's a dangerous gray area, not quite outright government censorship, but close enough to make First Amendment lawyers sweat. Democrats and free speech advocates quickly pounced, accusing regulators of overreach. If true, this incident isn't just a late-night spat, it's a constitutional case study. Who decides what you get to watch, the government, corporations, or the market itself? For Disney, this was a nightmare scenario. They're stuck in a triangle. Angering regulators risks fines and legal fights, angering talent risks boycotts, and angering customers risks billions in lost revenue. This is the kind of corporate chess game that determines not just profit margins, but the future of American media. But just when you think it couldn't get messier, it did. Disney caves on September 22nd, announcing Jimmy Kimmel would be reinstated. Crisis over, right? Wrong. Because the real power players weren't done. Major ABC affiliates, Sinclair and Nexstar, basically said, "Cool story, Disney, but we're still not airing him." These two groups control about 25% of the ABC audience nationwide. That's 1 in 4 households. So even with Disney's corporate U-turn, millions of Americans still couldn't watch Kimmel. Translation: lost ad revenue, lost audience reach, and a giant reminder that even a company as massive as Disney doesn't fully control its own empire. In today's economy, entertainment and money are inseparable. A single headline can vaporize billions. And for Disney, this wasn't just a PR problem, it was a balance sheet problem. So what do you think? Did Disney make the right call? Or did investors totally overreact? And should affiliates really have the power to pull the plug on national programming? Drop your thoughts below. We'll be reading. We pulled back the curtain on the secrets billionaires don't want you to know about investing, and you saw how the richest players rig the system in their favor. Different story, same lesson. When it comes to money, power, and control, it's never just about the headlines, it's about the economics behind them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next video. See you in the next one.